your first community coaching session, are you okay to just give us a thumbs up, just so that we get an understanding of if we have seasoned veterans in the room or if we have some newbies?
Yeah, I think there might be a couple of newbies. I think maybe they don't know how to put the hand up. There's an icon that they can click on, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple of newbies in here, inshallah.
All right, cool. All right, so for the benefit.
Now as well.
Okay, see, Brother Adil has got his hand up. Cool. So for the benefit of those who are new to this format and these sessions, and also hopefully as a helpful reminder to everyone else, I'll just give a quick overview of how we've come about and why we've set up these sessions. Just a few housekeeping. If you're not speaking, can you just make sure you're on mute, please? That can help minimize background disruption. That would be awesome. And yeah, you're more than welcome to put your cameras on. In fact, we would encourage you to put your cameras on because it's nice to see people's faces, and it's nice. It's you know, you get much better engagement that way. In order, in terms of how we run these sessions, the idea is for it to be very interactive, and the setup, the arrangement is coaching. So with coaching, the focus is very much on the participants rather than us, the coaches. So we really do encourage your active participation. If you don't feel comfortable speaking straight away, or if you don't feel comfortable being on camera straight away, you're welcome to engage through using the chat function as well. So we will be picking messages up. But if you do feel comfortable, we would really encourage you to turn your cameras on and have a conversation with us, because the more you engage, the more that you will, inshallah, get from the session, and the better and the richer the conversation will be. So in terms of the background, taking it back a step, we run under the auspices of Reading Muslim, which is a community organization, and it really is the banner of bringing the Muslim community together within Reading. It helps us to galvanize and organize events and share important messages. And it also enables us to engage quite meaningfully with our non-Muslim neighbours, friends, community, and also enables us to have a unified voice. So, for example, when we talk to the media or when we're bringing the various masajid together, when there's an issue. So right now is a key example of that. And so it's been a while now since we've been running the session. It's been longer than it feels. And how long has it been, Professor? It's been more than 6 months, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And really the idea started for us to start running these community coaching sessions. A couple of us coaches got together and we recognized this need within the community and also within ourselves, recognizing that with everything happening in Philistine, that actually there's this real need for healing within the community, because a lot of us are really struggling to carry that the emotions and the anger and the injustice that we witness on our TV screens, and it's really difficult to carry all of those emotions and those feelings and without having an outlet and a safe space to express them, especially where a lot of people are quite restricted within their work environments or out in public life. You know, not everyone can speak freely. There are repercussions at times. So we wanted to create a safe space, not just for the Muslim community. Anyone is welcome to attend these sessions, as long as they abide by the community guidelines that we've set. And the idea is for people to come together, to have a safe space to really air out these topics and to really like listen to one another and share what's going on for us in our world, what our lived reality is, what our response and experience is to what we're absorbing in the world going on around us. So that's a bit of background, sort of contextualization about how these sessions came about. And today we've got Brother Shehzad, who's very kindly offered to lead today's session. Brother Shehzad Hanif, he is one of the coaches on our team of coaches, who we work together to run these sessions. And Brother Shehzad is very experienced within the world of coaching. He's been helping and serving the community for a number of years through his life coaching practice, and he's, mashallah, helped a lot of people. So certainly I'm here to learn from him as well, pick up some nuggets of wisdom. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the session, and again encourage everyone's active participation, and inshallah we can all benefit as much as possible. Over to you, Brother Shehzad.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Maryam. Thank you for that nice introduction. Gave us a little bit of background and context, not just in terms of today's session, but in terms of why we started these sessions for the community. And initially we thought, yeah, it'd be something that we could help our local community with. But alhamdulillah, we had a sister from Canada in our previous session. We've had people from Birmingham, so like, not just restricted to Reading. It'd be interesting to know where you guys are from. Maybe if you could, if you wish to, if you're happy to just type in the comments, like, are you all from Reading or where you're from? It just gives us an idea of kind of the balance or the demographics of the audience that's participating. But Jazakumullah khairan, thank you to all of you. Thank you for taking out your time. As Sister William said, my name is Brother Shehzad, and one of the coaches in this team that we've put together, alhamdulillah. And this is really something that we've been thinking about for quite some time. But it's eventually, alhamdulillah, Allah's the best of planners. Everything happens at its appointed time, and it's no coincidence that the formation of these coaching sessions for the community, for the Muslim community and the community at large, coincided with events that unfortunately unfolded in Gaza with the genocide there. So we just felt it was really important to give people a safe space where they're able to discuss, release certain emotions in a healthy way, on a platform where there's no judgment, and I think it's important to just maybe at this stage just reiterate and re-emphasize the importance of just upholding ethical and moral and Islamic principles in terms of how we engage and discuss which things that are very contentious and hot topics, I guess, in our community at the moment. We want to try and avoid like name calling and as best as possible, especially when it's done in a very derogatory way, and just uphold the best of adab and kind of lead by example and be kind of a good example of what this beautiful religion of ours teaches us. So thank you once again for joining. Today we're talking about genocide. We're talking about dealing with hardship, in difficult times, from the context of the genocide and from the context of the riots that we've been seeing, which have unfortunately been gripping the UK. And it's very deliberate on my part to connect those two events, with the genocide in Gaza and the riots that have been taking place, especially the events that took place on the weekend. I personally feel like there is a lot of parallels and some kind of links there between the two events. They are separate, but they're not necessarily unlinked. There is some connection there, and I feel that as a Muslim community, it's it's becoming quite difficult for us to be able to just go about our daily routines, live our normal lives. That there's a lot of challenges, and we don't have many outlets to be able to discuss and be able to to have that sounding board, to be able to speak, and not have someone interrupt or interject or not listen to us. And sometimes even the people who are very close to us, we sometimes find it hard to have these sorts of discussions, because we may be affected differently to the events that are taking place to those in our immediate circle of family and friends. And hence that sometimes causes a bit of a disconnect when we try to talk and discuss these things in a healthy way. And that can sometimes very quickly spiral into a very unhealthy discussion. And then you feel like it's better just not to delve into any discussion which is politics related or is, like Palestine related, for example. So just imagine if that's the case, if that's the case with our, with the discussion that we have with those who are most closest to us, what about then trying to have these types of discussions with people in the wider community, people at work, friends, people from different faith groups, different backgrounds, um, Muslims, non-Muslims. So it's difficult. So I think having a platform like this is really, really helpful. That honestly, this is a session. The purpose behind these sessions is really to make it as interactive as possible, allow people to be able to discuss and talk without any judgment, and knowing that they're in a safe space. Alhamdulillah. So I think that's really important. That we realize that this is a safe space. There's no concerns here about anonymity or confidentiality being breached. We respect everyone's right to their own privacy. If you wish to unmute yourselves, that would be amazing. It'd make the conversation better. But if you don't wish to share your camera, or you don't want to unmute yourself, that's fine as well. We totally respect that. Maybe you can utilize the chat, and the comments, and you can write things. And even if you don't want to write things in the kind of general comments, you could actually you could make your point, or if you have any questions, you can make it directly to myself or Sister Mariam, and that could be a way of us kind of anonymously answering any questions or any concerns that anyone has. So I think the main point I'm trying to emphasize here is that it's a very safe space. Alhamdulillah, we've been, we're all qualified coaches. I've been doing group coaching sessions for many years, alhamdulillah, and we understand and appreciate and respect people's time and people's kind of respect for privacy as well. So inshallah, you won't have any concerns in that regard. Just to reiterate, these sessions are recorded, but this is something that will help the wider Muslim community, help the people who aren't able to attend. Maybe one person listening to these sessions could maybe hear something which could help them. Sometimes people are struggling with their mental health, and because of the images that they're seeing with the ongoing genocide, which has been going on now for 200 plus days. It's really, really difficult, and we all deal with these situations in different ways. Okay, for some people, we prefer not to watch some of the graphic content that is, kind of readily available, on our devices. But for others, for some of us, we may need to actually see and watch something like that, maybe in very minute amounts, but we may need to watch sometimes something like just to actually feel the pain a little bit, to be able to resonate with, to get some feeling of what our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine are going through. We can never, understand truly the pain, the suffering that they're going through. But it's for some of us, it's actually important, and sometimes, like necessary for us to view what's actually to watch it. and rather than completely just detach ourselves and ignore it. So and everyone's different. It's very hard to kind of make a blanket statement and say, oh no, we shouldn't engage in any content or any discussions with any of this stuff because it will affect us. Yes, it will affect some people in a bad way. For those people, probably it's better for them to avoid watching this type of content. And the same with the riots as well. Like what we've been seeing with the riots. It's been, for me personally, it's been a mixture of emotions. I'd be keen to get your comments as well about how have you guys felt watching everything unfold, over the weekend. I've seen some really, really graphic images. I've seen, policemen being like brutally assaulted. I've seen mainstream shops which don't even belong to people from, like ethnic minorities, or they don't belong to anyone from the Muslim community, just being looted. Like, it's just absolute thuggery. And based on what I've read and what I've heard and what I've seen, I've kind of come to the realization that a lot of the good and the bad that we've seen over the last few days has stemmed from social media. And how it's very easy just to blame everything on social media, but actually social media has helped to redress the balance to some extent as well. What I mean by that is, yes, I think social media had a big part to play in some of the misconceptions that arose from the stabbings that took place in the killings that took place in Southport, where it was, it went viral, that there was Muslim may have been involved in that. As we all know now, that wasn't the case. But then social media has actually shown the true colors of these people who were, supposedly demonstrating, for their rights of freedom and for, for their voices to be heard, against brutality and terrorist, kind of activity, and they've just been exposed in such a way, where these images and these videos have shown them, like I said earlier, looting shops, attacking policemen. That's nothing to do with people from a particular religion or people from a particular faith group or a particular community. It's like it's just thuggery, and any like any sane human being who watches that, they will side with the truth, which is that these people are, they are not a reflection of the mainstream of this society, and they should be punished in a very severe way. So, inshallah, we hope that the authorities will deal with these people. They will give them very, very heavy, stiff punishments to deter others from thinking about doing something like this in future. But for me, in terms of what kind of emotions have I felt, not just with what's happening in Gaza, but also these events here. In the UK, it's been, I would say, shock, fear, confusion, kind of anger, and also I feel justified as well to some extent. Just by watching some of the behavior of these people has made me, like, feel quite content that actually, there is not, this is not like a problem with the population at large. I think the neutrals will understand, just like we see in Gaza now, how the narrative is shifting, where we have like the leading court in the world, charging the Prime Minister of Israel, having an arrest warrant for them, or recommending that a warrant is issued. But that's totally unheard of. We would never have come across or heard something like that, maybe even a year ago, right? So the narrative is shifting. For some people, things are not changing quickly enough. Like my father, for example, says, "Yeah, okay, they can issue warrants, but they're still doing what they're doing," and yes, that's true. And I think the older generation sometimes do get kind of frustrated and lose patience with these things. Don't forget, this situation in Gaza has been happening for Palestine. It's been happening for 70 plus years. So it's going to take time for the change to come. But the signs are there, inshallah, that things are changing. The narrative is shifting. The neutrals are waking up to the reality, and social media has played a massive part in all of that. So social media is a tool. It's an instrument. It can be used for negative things. It can be used for positive things. It's up to us. Just like a glass of water, you can fill it with water. Or otherwise you could fill it with something, with alcohol, and that could be detrimental to your health and could cause a lot of negativity, right? So it's an instrument, and I think sometimes we get carried away with like the impact that social media has had and how it's such a bad thing. I wouldn't have known so much about Palestine and what's been going on and the reality on the ground had it not been for social media. I'm sure you'll all agree with me in that, when it comes to that. So, in terms of the reality on the ground. So, I guess really just wanted to share a couple of things there with you, and then see if there is something, just what your thoughts are. Maybe what kind of emotions have you guys felt? It'd be nice to go on a bit of a journey in this session of emotions, and see how people have been feeling. How has it been in your town or in your area, or just in terms of how have you perceived all of this, that's been going on? We're really keen to kind of hear that, or you could type it in the comments as well. If I may
Assalamualaikum.
ask, Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I'm just about to go, but I'm just listening to what you're saying and things, and I think up in Scotland, alhamdulillah, I don't think it's as bad as it is in England. But even just I've come off social media. It's been about 10 months or something now, just because it does become so overwhelming, the negativity and things like that. Whilst I'm not on social media, I'm still getting glimpses of it on WhatsApp and like the news and things like that. And it is frightening because it is slowly coming up to Scotland. And we're aware of like the thugs and all that kind of stuff. Like there's certain areas and things that naturally we can sometimes avoid because we don't want to touch territory. But the fact that it's coming closer to home now, there is a fear of like not being out too late, or just being careful. You're a group of people and not just two people. And even when I go to work as well, like it's something that I feel like I'm not able to openly discuss because nobody else kind of understands or can quite comprehend um the thoughts that are going through my mind, kind of thing. And it can lead me down a rabbit hole. But I do feel that it's not, it's like we have the support but we don't have the support. And it's whether we use tough love and actually like let them say what we need to say, give them time to calm down and then talk to them, or do we just let the police deal with it? But again, it feels like there's a lot of like the police aren't being able to handle it either now. So that's just my 2 pence. I need to go now.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So please introduce yourself before you go.
Sorry. Assalamualaikum everyone. My name's Ifit. I'm from Glasgow. I've worked for Brother Shehzad for a wee while now, on and off.
Mashallah.
So I thought I'd pop on, and I like to always give my 2 pence worth. So yeah, and it's always good to hear perspectives and things as well, because like I said, we're up in Scotland and alhamdulillah it's not that bad. But I do think we're blessed in that way as well. And sometimes just listening to people's first-hand experience, or how people are people who are actually experiencing it, it's the same thing. But just like hearing it hits home a wee bit more, and I think it just makes you a wee bit more vigilant and just brings more life to it, really, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Alaikum salam. Thank you so much, Sister Ifat from Scotland, from Bonnie, Scotland, mashallah. So thank you for joining, and it's nice. It's just nice to. This is what I mean, right? This is the beauty of these sessions where we can have our brothers and sisters, from our Muslim community and from the community at large, can come on, and and they can tell us, how things are for them and how are they experiencing all of these situations that are going on. So it's good to hear that things are relatively calm in Scotland, alhamdulillah. Here in Reading, where I reside, alhamdulillah, we've generally not had many problems, not just with this situation, but Reading is mashallah, in that regard, the community generally speaking everyone gets on quite well. It's a very multicultural kind of society here, and everyone, we've got people from all walks of life living together, and we've not really had any major problems, and so far, alhamdulillah, we've not had any real issues. Obviously, there's concerns and there's messages going around saying that there's going to be protests and at mosques and disturbances coming this weekend and things like that. But we've not really experienced anything so far. So which is good, and it'd be interesting to kind of hear your perspectives, and like how has it been for you personally? I shared some of the emotions that I've felt, around fear, definitely an element of shock, surprise, because my local masjid is not far from here, and I love to go to the masjid, whenever I can, and it's like, at the same time, it's very apparent to me that I am an easy target, right? If somebody wanted to attack me or whatever from behind, it'd be very, very easy for them to do that. I have, I like to go to the masjid with traditional clothing on, and that's how I feel comfortable, right? So now I'm not going to change that because of whatever situation we're in right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm not aware and I'm not, kind of actively kind of trying to be aware of my surroundings. So that's how I'm dealing with this, is that I'm not necessarily just, kind of stopping what I'm doing, stopping all my activities, but I'm just being a little bit more vigilant, and a little bit more aware of my surroundings. But for some people, it might actually be better for you to stay at home, especially some of our sisters, who don't necessarily have the family support, and they have to, kind of take care of children and, schooling and all of these things, and shopping. It can be quite challenging, and they're very, obviously, just by their appearance, they're very easy targets for some people. So I think we have to show a lot of gratitude to our sisters. They're really in the front line in this regard, not just based on the riots that are going on now, but pretty much over the last 10-15 years, there's been a lot more scrutiny on the Muslim community, mainly due to media, biased media reporting and the behavior and actions of politicians, where politicians, in order for them to get votes, sometimes say some very derogatory things, and which stirs the emotions of a certain section of society, and that then manifests itself into very kind of unpleasant, violent scenes that we've been seeing over the last few days. So, alhamdulillah, I think Reading things generally have been quite good. Would anybody else like to come and share their perspective? Maybe share which town you're in. How has things been for your community or for you personally? There's one or two people here that I know are from different towns other than Reading. It'd be nice for you to come and share if you're able to.
Brother Shehzad,
yeah. Sister Mariam, please go ahead.
So does anyone have their hand up?
Yeah, I think we have Brother Qasim, who's just unmuted himself, so he can speak off next, inshallah. But please go ahead, Sister Mariam.
No, That's fine. Just I guess to help sort of guide the conversation. I'm quite curious. And Brother Garson might be able to speak to this from his perspective. I'm quite curious about the gendered difference in how we are feeling and reacting, because I think on balance, women, you know, physical difference. We are physically the weaker gender. We don't have, you know, our upper body strength is not comparable to that of a man. So that will inherently come with this added sense of danger and fear. And you know, like if I'm standing on a platform in a train station, I'm literally worried that some nutter is going to come and like push me onto the train tracks. And I'm observing my surroundings. I'm like standing at a distance that's as safe as possible, looking around, thinking, if someone attacked me right now, who, like, out of all of these people around me, who could or would maybe stand up to defend me? And then you feel disillusioned because you're thinking probably no one. And you literally have this like vicious conversation in your head. And as a woman, it's so easy to spiral into that. And I'm curious, because I'm not a man, and I'm quite curious about what the male experience is like. Is there this sort of like yearning to go out and fight these people and to like actively like protect your community and your family? Is it is there also a sense of fear? Like what's your experience? But yeah, I'll hand it over to Brother Kasim.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Sister Mariam. Excellent perspective there. It's very important to tap into the emotions based, you know, from a gender, from a gender perspective as well, which is why I, you know, kind of specifically mentioned the sisters as well. I think it's very important to acknowledge the role they play and their braveness. And you know, sisters are just you know, amazing, you know, just in terms of the amount, the strength of fortitude that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with, the courage, the himmah to go out there, to get an education, to deal with all the prejudice, all the judgment. And like I said, the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's not been easy to be a Muslim, you know, let alone in a, you know, as a minority in a, you know, in a non-Muslim society. Even in Muslim countries, it's difficult to actually actively, outwardly practice your faith, you know, which is unfortunate. But you know, there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of judgment made. So yeah, there's a great perspective there, Sister Mariam, and it'd be you know, interested to hear some of the sisters' thoughts as well. Maybe you can share some in the comments in terms of your perspective, how you're feeling right now. I share some of my emotions, you know, feelings of being scared, of shock, you know, of anger, you know, but then kind of feeling a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more content when I saw some of the behavior of these people. You know, I didn't feel like their actions would really have a massive impact on any, you know, sane thinking person. But Sidi Qasim, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? You okay?
Walaikum salam, Sidi. How are you? Alhamdulillah, everyone's fine.
Alhamdulillah, Habibi, I'm well. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Bless you. Allah
Thank you.
reward you for everything that you're doing. You know, mashallah, beautiful initiative that you've carried out here just to check out on your local community and obviously the national community as well. So I really appreciate all the efforts, all the hard work that you're putting in. Allah bless you. Allah reward you with abundance reward, inshallah. I mean, yeah, I'll start off with Sister Mariam, obviously, because obviously what she just mentioned, totally could relate. It's difficult for sisters not having that same kind of, you know, strength, or you know, not being able to obviously handle things with the way how probably you know, the male agenda would do it. But the main thing is, like yourself mentioned to everybody, to make sure that you're not alone. Keep being with company if you are able to. If it is that you have to go to work, you have to get to the train station, buses, and you are alone, it's important, I think, try and tell somebody, you know, your family members, you know, when you've reached, let them know so they're aware that, you know, you've got to work safely. I think it's quite important, because you just don't know. I mean, all sorts of thoughts do cross your mind, do cross your head. So it can be difficult, but ideally, if you could be with somebody and or get dropped off to work, if possible, in these coming days, it's ideal. If you can't, then make sure like somebody knows your whereabouts at all times, inshallah. May Allah allows to protect everybody and make things easy, and you know, hopefully things will calm down soon. But Yeah, from a Birmingham perspective, obviously I'm from the Midlands, Birmingham. Alhamdulillah, we've got a large majority. Sorry, can you not hear me properly?
No, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine. Please continue.
Yeah, just alhamdulillah, we're blessed with a majority Muslim population that we're living in. But even then, we have had threats. We have had situations where we've been told that, you know what, people from the right wing will be coming and, causing problems. So it's important that, you be vigilant. However, at the same time, I think it doesn't help with, sometimes the Asian community. It's important that we don't give them a negative picture that, we go out there and cause havoc or, cause problems ourselves by getting all together. I think it's important that we do deal with the situation quite amicably. It's quite important. So yeah, it's been tough. I mean, even today we had threats coming to our Gumboshi Masjid, which is the central mosque of Birmingham, saying that there's a chance that the EDL will come. So they've locked the doors of the gate of the masjid. You can still obviously come in and pray. They just said the car park's closed. Just park outside. And obviously the committee have made the police aware, the authorities aware, and I think they will have some security from them. But yeah, I think it's tough times, but we live in hope, and inshallah things will calm down. It's just a minority, I believe, that cause these kind of issues. The majority, I mean, I'm in a profession, and my work colleagues, they've been very understanding, they've been very helpful, and they understand. It's just a minority, in every aspect really that you do get. But inshallah, things will calm down. But honestly, really appreciate you doing what you're doing. Allah bless you, Allah reward you, and we make dua that the Muslim community in this country stays safe, inshallah, and protected, and things get better for us.
Ameen, Jazakallah khair. Barakallahu feekum. Some excellent points you mentioned there, Sidi Qasim, and for the benefit of those who don't know you, Sidi Qasim is from the legal profession. And there's some very wise words of advice there, some practical tips, alhamdulillah, that he shared. And I think that kind of that leads me on nicely to the kind of the final segment really of this session, which was just what practical tips or words of advice can we share, and Sidi Qasim kind of really shared some of those already. I just wanted to check in with anyone else if there's anything that anybody would like to share, or if anybody would like to type anything in the comments, any questions, any observations, any comments, please feel free to do so. It's I think that it's really actually there was one question. Just bear with me. If I may ask, how as a parent can we guide the kids who are terrified of riots videos being shared on everywhere, young kids and teenagers? Okay, inshallah. So that's a great question. Thank you for that question. So I think it's a valid concern for all of us who have children. I think that there is it's very hard to protect and control this type of content, these types of images from the ears and the eyes of our children. And as we know, we've heard this from our teachers as well, that if you can protect what the child sees and hears, then you've protected their heart. So I think definitely try and limit access to devices as best as possible. But if they have come across some of these scenes, then I think it's really important just to reassure them, explain to them that there's some people out there who are troublemakers, but most people, and give them examples. Say, look, you go to a school, you go to a nursery, you have teachers there, you have English kids, you have English teachers, you have people from different cultures, and you get on with them all. They're really nice people. So I think it's important to have that dialogue with the kids. Give them tangible examples of people who are good examples, good citizens, could be their even could be their favorite sports personalities, people who they look up to, and also I think it's really important to share and to talk to our kids about our Islamic history, and to talk to them about the lives of the Sahaba, for example, and how, and there's some beautiful books out there for kids, which with some really nice illustrations, some nice kind of images and things that makes it easier for the children to understand and to digest. And I think that really would help cultivate their iman and their understanding of how to remain steadfast in times of difficulty. There's some really beautiful books there that talk about some of the the ways that the Muslims were ostracized and were kind of really kind of treated in a very kind of condescending way, in a very negative way by the Makkans, with all the sanctions and blocking access to food and all of these things. These people, because of their sacrifices, alhamdulillah, we are where we are today, and we're on this platform. And it's important, I think, to draw parallels and draw inspiration from that for our children. And there's beautiful cartoons you can use to illustrate the
I'm close enough.
Okay, I think
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Can you see and hear me?
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay, I think Brother Shehzad has lost his connection. So I'll just wrap up on his behalf. But I think what I wanted to also encourage everyone to do is if we're in a position to do so, to really advocate to our places of work and the organizations where we work, to
We can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Thanks, Jamila. Have I been talking all of that time on mute? Right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the tech issues, everyone. I was just saying what I think Brother Shehzad has lost his connection, but I just wanted to wrap things up and leave things on this final point, that I'd really encourage everyone to advocate within their organizations to for this to be called out for what it is, and in particular for it to be called out as acts of domestic terrorism, because a lot of what's going on, it does actually fit the definition of the terrorism legislation it falls within the confines of that. And the Director of Public Prosecutions has also stated that some of the perpetrators will be tried through the criminal justice system under domestic terror legislation. So I don't think that we should be shying away from calling it out as what it is, and also for speaking to our HR teams, our senior leadership teams, executive leadership teams, and for those organizations who are not making public external statements condemning this, really encouraging for that to happen, because it is really important for organizations to actually speak out and make those public statements and speak out against it. And also for organizations to be creating safe spaces internally for colleagues to speak to what their experiences are, and also for organizations to be taking safety precautions for their staff who are likely to be at risk in some capacity. So that is something which is something within it's something which is within our control, and I'd really encourage everyone to be advocating for that. So we're having tech issues. Brother Shehzad, are you back with us?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me okay?
Walaikum assalam. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, apologies, I just completely lost all connectivity there for some reason. I'm not sure, was somebody, I think I was addressing the question from one of the participants. Unless you were sharing something, Sister Mariam, please go ahead if you were.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Feel free to wrap up your point. I was just filling in the gap and just encouraging everyone to use our voices to advocate within the organizations where we work, or within any sort of networks and forums that we're a part of, to advocate for the leadership teams to make public statements and condemn what's going on and call it out for what it is, and also for us to not shy away from calling it domestic terrorism, which it's certainly, there are aspects of what's going on which fits that definition, and we shouldn't be shying away from calling it what it is. So I was just making that brief point, but yeah, please go ahead and wrap up your bit of advice.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sister Mariam. That's an excellent point there, actually, that we shouldn't shy away from kind of calling a spade, right? And just we shouldn't have any fear around that, as long as the actions that we take are within the parameters of the legislation, the law of the land. Then inshallah, it's totally fine. I think as Muslims we just have to be conscious of our kind of our religious obligations, and just upholding the best of adab, try not to get involved in name calling. And sometimes I see some of the videos and the reels, and people are, and I get it, right? People are passionate and they're angry, and they're really kind of quite heated, and sometimes that's not that's not the best way, right? Because the way I like to look at things is that if a non-Muslim is watching, how can we, even through our anger, even through the injustice, even through the injustice that's taking place, how can we plant that seed in their heart, that could maybe later on down the line, if not straight away, allow them to see that there is another perspective here. There is, that they could actually, maybe even, who knows, later on down the line, completely reverse their opinions, right? Maybe they become Muslim maybe in the future. So I'm just a little bit wary of quote unquote certain people out there, certain influencers, and people that might have followings on social media, and some of the things that they're saying. There was a point that was made, we'll probably wrap up on this point inshallah, something very beautiful but made by an imam in Liverpool. Some of you may know him, Brother Adam Kelwick. He said, people who hate tend to hate themselves, right? And it's such a beautiful statement. And if I get the opportunity, inshallah, I'll get him on and maybe have him here as a, for a guest session. He can kind of talk a little bit more. He's been doing some great work in Liverpool. He actually went into the crowd of the EDL protesters, and he may be a revert as well. I think maybe that sometimes helps with being able to have dialogue and talk to these people on their level. And he went there and he spoke to them, and they shared what they had to share, and he explained things from an Islamic perspective or just shared his own perspective. And by the end of it, they were actually hugging him, right? And that's beautiful. And this is what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to make here is that, with every, Allah tells us in the Quran, with every difficulty, after every difficulty, there is ease. Okay. Now, there is khair in every situation. We have to find the positives in this situation. Like, how can we use this in a positive way to be able to engage with people? Okay. Now, for me, in an ideal world, I'd love to see people living happily, harmoniously, and for the Gaza genocide to end, and people in that part of the land to live freely, people from different religions living harmoniously, coexisting peacefully, and I'd love to see the same here in the UK. And alhamdulillah, by and large, alhamdulillah, that's how things have been, since our first generation came here in the early 60s in the UK. So, but there are challenges. So, that's my vision. What's your vision? How do you want things to be? Rather than focusing on what's not right and, this prime minister and that prime minister, oh, he and so said this, he said that, he insulted Bangladeshis, and, he said, yeah, we should, stop water and electricity in Gaza. I get it. That's, those things upset us when we hear people in positions of leadership saying things that are so upsetting, and derogatory, and just sometimes very just downright racist and prejudiced kind of viewpoints. And these are people who are educated and in positions of power, right? But I prefer that we focus on what is the khair in this? The khair in this situation, if we take the riots, for example, or even the situation in Gaza, is that the neutrals are now understanding what's really going on. And this is going back to my point about the social media, right? It's there in front of them. And if you're someone who has a bit of common sense within you, and you're someone who is thinks logically, it's there. It's the plain. It's the truth is there in black and white. It cannot be ignored, and the truth will prevail. So Allah is taking care of everything that's going on around us, and try not to get too involved, embroiled in bitter situations. Let's think practically. What can we do? Yeah, maybe I can legally protest. The situation that's going on at the moment. Maybe that's my route. Maybe I can, raise awareness in my workplace through, kind of dialogue and through good character, and trying to, kind of show them, that this what's going on isn't a true reflection of my community. This is not how we are, and everyone has a role to play. Some people are very active online, so maybe we can support and retweet and like, content which will help to bring people together, so that we have a world where people from all faiths, all walks of life are growing up together. And we get that here. I see that here in the South. I'm sure it's the same in other parts of the UK. Kids growing up, kids from, from different colors, different cultures, they're growing up together, they're best friends. One of them may have a hijab, the other one may not even have a religious belief. And, alhamdulillah, like this, this is possible. It's happening. And I think really that's where we need to kind of focus. I love that comment from Imam Adam, that people who hate themselves. So the lesson I take from that is that never hate the person, hate the action of these perpetrators, but don't hate them as people, because no person is born bad. No person is born, obnoxious and violent, but their surroundings, their environment, their family, the cultural programming, the programming of the society they live in, make them into what they have become. Just imagine, Like, you grew up in an area where there was no prosperity, no job, kind of prospects, and you grew up, listening to and watching a lot of derogatory and inflammatory rhetoric against a particular community, let's say Muslims, for example, or ethnic minorities, right? Now, obviously, as you become older, you want to form certain opinions and beliefs about certain, certain segments of society, and then you've not had any interaction with people. You've not had any interaction with people from that community, apart from maybe the person who owns a corner shop, or you're a nurse at the hospital or something. It's going to form an opinion, right? So, and then on top of that, you're seeing these people coming to my country, quote unquote, my country. I'm British, and these people are coming and taking my jobs, and they're driving nice cars, and you see what I mean? And then that can cause a very tunnel vision, siege mentality. So I think we just have to be, kind of conscious of the fact that people are on their own journeys, and inshallah, in good time, people will see the light. They will see. And let's think: how can I be a means for people to see the light? How can I be that that gateway for people to actually understand the true reality, which could lead to peaceful coexistence, inshallah, which generally speaking, we do have that. So inshallah, I think that's really all I wanted to share. I think unless anyone else has any questions, any perspectives they want to share, I'm conscious of time as well. We've hit the 7 o'clock mark. So we'll end the session. Like I said, this is recorded, so we will share this on our YouTube channel as well. If you have any comments, any feedback, please feel free to, we have a WhatsApp group, which I'm sure many of you are part of that group. So please feel free to give us your comments or suggestions. Please keep sharing these sessions. These are bi-weekly sessions. So please keep sharing them. And inshallah, until next time, please stay safe, protect yourselves, your loved ones, and find something that will allow you to channel this energy, that you have in a positive way. Find a positive platform. There's organizations, there's groups out there doing great work, and see what resonates with you, and maybe sometimes even our local institutions, our masjid, sometimes we need to raise awareness there as well. So that's maybe something where some of us can utilize our strengths and our skills there as well, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. I will take silence as golden, and thank you for your kind words, Sidi Qasim. Thank you, Sister Jamila as well. Thank you to everyone that's joined. May Allah bless you all. Until next time, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.